Right, hello everyone. We're going to talk through our NEA tasks, the 10% write-up part of our coursework. Now, with our NEA tasks, we can see here in these bottom two boxes that it's marked out of 20 marks and it's 10% of your course. And it's looking for you to draw upon your knowledge and understanding of the skills which you have learned so you can analyse and evaluate your own performance or a friend's performance in a particular sport. Okay, this NEA will consist of a written task that must be produced under controlled conditions. So controlled conditions mean that you sit in lesson and you write it in a lesson. Okay, we can do some planning before, but it is a controlled write-up. Okay, now what you do is you pick a sport which you want to look at. Okay, now by that I mean if you're going to be assessed in football as one of your three sports, you pick football as one of your sports. Okay, and we then start to look at how do we analyse someone's performance in football. Okay, so we watch them play football and we really talk about how good they are, what they need to improve, what are their weaknesses, what are their strengths. We also look at the fitness side to say, well, is it muscular endurance? Have they got good cardiovascular endurance? Are they good flexibility? So we actually start to look at the different components of fitness as well. And then we start to look at producing an action plan to say, how is this person going to improve? So we can see here that we've got different amounts of time it recommends for you to spend on each part. Okay, so if we look here, we've got analyse and evaluation performance. Learners will assess physical fitness, strengths, weaknesses of the performer being analysed using tests for the different components of fitness. So if you think of those tests could be the multi-stage fitness test, which measures cardiovascular endurance. It could be the sit-up test, which measures muscle endurance. The sit and reach test, which measures flexibility. So all those tests we've done in lessons, we're going to use them to analyse someone's fitness. Okay. We also could do some other tests to measure their skill as well in that particular sport. Okay. So the next one here, for a chosen physical activity, learners will, for 3 to 4 hours, analyse the importance of the different components of fitness in the activity. So that means if you're a footballer in the central midfield, is it important to have good cardiovascular fitness? If so, why is it important? If it isn't important, explain to me why it's not. Okay? Give an overview of the key skills in the activity. So if you are that central midfielder in football, what skills do you need to have? Do you need to be able to short passing, long passing, to be able to tackle, be able to run from box to box? Do you need to be able to shoot? Do you need to be able to header? Okay, I need to be able to hear those skills. Now, on different positions, if we take football, different positions need different skills. Okay, if you're doing badminton, for instance, what skills do you need in badminton? Is it more important to be agile or to have power? Is it more important to be able to do a high serve, a flick serve? Are they skills that you need? Okay, or is it more important to have a smash, be able to do the overhead clear? So these are skills that you need to look at. Okay, the next one is assess the strengths and weaknesses of the performer being analysed in the activity. So this is where we're going to actually look at someone and say, well, if they are playing badminton, can they serve? Can they do the flick serve? Can they do a long serve? Okay, is their serve close to the net when they're trying to just drop it short? When they play the overhead clear, is it going all the way to the back of the court? And then we do that in your sport. So we look at the strengths and weaknesses of the skill and of the fitness in that sport. Okay, so for the next one, for a specific skill or technique in a chosen activity, so 1 to 2 hours, analyse a movement involved joints, joint type of movement, muscle groups, muscle function, role. So you might think, well, what does that mean? So for instance, if I'm kicking a football, okay, and I'm looking to strike a ball with the laces, and we're going to do a pass over 20 yards. We, at this point, need to talk about every joint that is involved when kicking the ball, every muscle group that is involved, and every movement that is involved. So, for instance, we'll start to think, well, if we're kicking that football, what muscles are involved? Well, I draw my leg back, I have my quadriceps and my hamstring, okay? But when I flex at the knee, which muscle relaxes? Which muscle contracts? What joint am I working? Is it my hinge in the knee? Or am I actually as well working the muscles in my hip, doing the pelvis? So is that a different type of joint, the ball and socket joint? Am I moving my ankle? Are the muscles in my ankle working in order to draw that foot back at a different angle? So we need to talk about each muscle that moves, each muscle that contracts, each muscle that relaxes, talk through that sporting movement. Now we could do that with every sport. So same with badminton. If you're looking to hit the shuttlecock in a clear, well, what muscles move? What contracts? What relax? We talk about antagonistic pairs. Well, talk about the pairs. Talk about how they relax, how they contract. Talk about, does that, as the arm raises up, what type of movement is that? Why do we need to do that type of movement? Okay. The next B down here is classify the skill into a difficulty and environmental continuum. So if you remember, we have a continuum of simple and complex. We need to actually talk about your skill. So if we're passing a football, is that a simple skill or is it a complex skill? And we need to justify our reasoning for where we give it. The environmental continuum, is it open? Is it closed? Has the skill, what you've picked, is it open? Is it closed? Okay, so moving next part here, the plan must include we'll produce an action plan, okay, to improve an aspect of the performance of the performer by analysing in the chosen activity. So we need to, at this point, pick what skill we're going to improve. So if we look at football again, it could be we're going to look at someone shooting from outside the box. It could be that we're going to look at someone's headering. Okay, in badminton, we could be looking at improving the smash or the flick serve. So we're picking one skill, what we want to improve on. Okay, so which skill or component of fitness are you improving? Now with this, I prefer that you pick a skill, but some people also can pick a component of fitness. Okay, I find that it's easier to gain higher marks if you pick a skill, but that's just my opinion. Okay, justification for the skill or component of fitness you have chosen. So why are you trying to improve that skill? Okay, so for instance, I'm trying to improve the smash in badminton because it will gain me more points. It's a winning shot. I may have tested the person's smash and we served him up and got him to do 10 smashes. He only got 3 in. The other 7 either hit the net or went out the court. So that's a weakness in his game that we want to improve. Okay, the next bit, drills and practices to show how you intend to improve the skill or components of fitness chosen, including a risk assessment, coaching points, principles of training, and a SMART goal. Okay, so for all of this we've done, so we want to be able to set a SMART goal, talking about why we want to improve. So we need to actually explain SMART and fit. If we're doing the smash in badminton, if we're doing heading in football, scoring a headed goal, we need to set out a SMART target to say why are we improving that skill. We need to talk about the principles of training. How do they link to our skill? We need to do coaching points. So those coaching points might be talking about as the ball's coming across to head the ball, what's happening? What is my centre forward doing? Is he jumping? If he's jumping, what position is he in? When he's heading the ball, how does his head move? Is he running onto the ball? Is he running backwards? So it's about coaching points in order to improve that skill. And relevant understanding of the element chosen to improve. So that is understanding what have you chosen. Right. So if we've got here, for example, where learners show. So we've got here the marking part. We do an evaluation and we mark it from 1 to 5. Now this here, we want to be achieving top level 5s. Okay, we then do analyze, we then do an overview, we then do an assessment, movement analysis, and action plan. And what happens is you get marked out of all of these. You can see here that first of all you got a 5, then a 4, then a 3, then a 5, then a 4, then a 3. And then overall, everything gets added together. And this person's been given a level 4 overall. Now we want to be in that top 2 categories, a level 4 and level 5. Okay, because this is 10% of your mark. And you can get that 10% if you put the work in. Okay. So these are marking criteria for each part. Okay, this is what your teachers get given in order to mark your work. So you can see here, we're giving titles on each section. Now we can't give you a template. We can't say, here's a template, this is your work. This is something you need to figure out for yourself. But we can show you how we mark them. There's an evaluation one. And that evaluates the strengths and weaknesses of their own or peers' physical using appropriate tests, for each component of fitness. Okay, produce a fully justifies analysing of the importance of the different components of fitness in their chosen activity. An overview, give an accurate overview of all the key skills required for their chosen activity. Assessment gives an accurate and thorough assessment of their own or peers' strengths and weaknesses of their skills, their chosen activity. So all those 5, that's what we're looking to hit, to get that 17 to 20 marks. We then have our movement analysis. Movement analysis and classification of skill is detailed and accurate. Okay, and an action plan. The learner produces a detailed and accurate action plan containing clear identification of the skills, components of fitness being improved, with full justification based on analysis of performance, an excellent understanding of the principles of training, an excellent range of detailed drills and practice with coaching points, application of SMART goal settings is detailed and accurate, overall understanding of the element chosen to improve is excellent. Now, this I'm now going to talk through. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I want you to see the detail these students have put in. Okay, these are exemplar pieces of work provided by the exam board to say these are marked at this level. So we can see here, this is movement analysis. This is the bit where we are talking about that person's movement. We're talking about what muscles are involved, what joints are involved. And you can actually see here that this piece of work is a very detailed and long piece of work. Okay, now I'm not going to read it through, but you can, this isn't just the only bit. This goes on for about 4 or 5 slides, which I'll show you now. So it starts to talk about here, get the body into a low position to prepare for the pass. It then goes, the left and right knees are bent roughly at 90 degrees. The knees is a hinge joint that can be therefore moved in flexion and extension. So it goes into good parts of detail. Okay, we've got down here the movement is created by the contraction of the gluteals. The right hip moves towards flexion caused by the contraction of the hip flexor. Now that is a fantastic piece of work, okay? But she goes on. We then include pictures where she's actually highlighted the joint. So she's highlighted the knees, the hinge joints where they bend. She's highlighted the hip, what she's talked about. And she's done it again then, showing the skill. So that's the level of detail you need, okay? It's not one paragraph. It's not some scribbling on a bit of paper. To get those high marks, you have got to go into detail. And there she carries on writing in this section. Look, we'll go there. The biceps relax and allows the movement to happen, and therefore are the agonistic muscles. The deltoids support this movement and are the fixators in the movement. On the follow-through phase of the pass, the left elbow moves into a flexion to allow the stick to follow the movement around in a circular motion towards the left side of the, and we go on. So that there is fantastic. She hasn't just talked about the legs, she's then moved into the upper body and the whole arms. So she once again continues it on, and as we talked about the arms, she's done 2 more pictures where she's then highlighted the hinge joints in the elbows. So once again, read through this, pause this PowerPoint and read through what level of detail you need in order to get a good mark in this piece of work. Now she's then gone on and we talked about the difficulty continuum. So she has done the difficulty continuum at the bottom, and then she's explained in detail why she's put that there. Okay, she hasn't just done difficulty continuum 1 line, she's got 2 paragraphs talking about in detail. So once again, pause this presentation and read it. Okay, so when it comes to use, you know what level you have got to write at in order to get a good piece of work. We then move on to environmental continuum. Once again, she's drawn it out, she's a paragraph about it, telling me, and then at the bottom here, she's actually telling me why she has chosen the slap pass. Okay, so all that is a fantastic piece of work. Now that there is top band 4, bottom level 5. Okay, so that's a fantastic piece of work, and you can see that the detail, and that just gets into level 5. Okay, so that's the level you need to write at to achieve those high marks. Now, this is the next piece of work. Okay, so this person here is looking at components of fitness to improve, and why does the skill or component of fitness need to be improved? So they've laid this out on the table. Okay, they have started to talk about the skill. If I read this middle bit, I need to improve my hitting, not only so I can effectively perform hit outs and accuracy and power, but also so I can start to use this skill in pressured situations around the pitch. For example, when I've won the ball back from the attacker in my defensive area and I want to powerfully clear the ball up towards my forwards. So she's gone of why she's improving the skill and how will it improve her game. So at the bottom here, before starting any type of training, there are some key considerations that need to be made. Firstly, training should adhere to the principles of training. Now, principles of training, once again, you've got it marked on that, so we need to talk about it in order for it to be effective. Secondly, in order for progression to be made and for athletes to maintain motivation throughout the training, appropriate goals should be used. So once again, she then took SMART principles. So that's something else you're going to be marked on, and she's put them in this paragraph to say that she will definitely talk about them. Now, if we move on, straight away, she starts to talk about her principles of training. She talks about and lays it out in a nice table. I like tables, some people don't. Lays it out in a nice table, and then she puts the piece of work in each part, okay, and describes them in detail. So once again, pause, have a read. You can see the level of detail that is needed. She then moves on to our SMART goal settings. Okay, once again, she's laid out her SMART target and she has explained each one in detail. Very easily done. I think it looks very good in the table. Okay, but that just takes a sitting down, thinking about it, and a little bit of hard work. So we've got the last bit of her SMART goal here, and then we actually start to do the first practice. Now here, look, straight hitting to a partner 10 metres away. Focus on correct technique. Start by hitting the ball from a stationary position. So you can actually see here, they start 10 metres away. Now we talk about a progression. A progression is when a sport gets more difficult. When a drill becomes more difficult, you progress, you get better. To progress, things need to get harder. Okay, so the progression here, she's gone from 10 metres to 15 metres, and she showed it, and then she's explained it at the bottom. Progression, gradually increase the distance of the hit. I can also add a run up with a cross set to make into a more realistic game situation, such as when clearing the ball from the defence up to the forwards. So she's explained her progression as well. Okay, she's then done something called a risk assessment. Now, with our risk assessment, we need to say, how are we keeping our performer safe? So we talk about them doing a warm-up, and we explain the perfect warm-up. So we talk about that pulse raiser, we talk about static stretches, dynamic stretches, okay? We talk about skill rehearsal. We also talk about, is there anything else what could prevent an injury? So looking at equipment, is equipment appropriate? Is the floor appropriate? Is the surface you're playing appropriate? Is the weather appropriate? Do we need to have a drink for hydration? Okay, are the people we're playing not going to cause us a problem? Is the clothing and footwear we're wearing? If we're playing football, do we need shin pads? Okay, so they're the things we're looking at as well in our risk assessment. And you can actually see that when she's talked about stretching in this, she's talked about how long you hold a stretch for. Okay, so this is something that you need to do in detail. And you can actually pause once again and read through her risk assessment. We've now gone on to a coaching point. So if you're teaching or coaching, in order to improve, you've got to give feedback. You've got to actually say, this is what I want. So she's gone here, coaching points. Place left foot parallel to the ball and facing the direction that the hit is aiming for. Hold the stick firmly with hands together, close to the top of the stick. So she's actually there, bullet pointed, everything you need to know about how to play this shot. She's then gone for progression. Take a few meters to dribble with the ball at speed to open stick side. Performs a crossover, step by, placing the left foot on the floor, facing forward, stepping behind it with the right foot, and stepping again forwards with the left foot. So she then starts to talk about her progression. Now at the bottom here, she talks about her principles of training. This drill is specific to the skill I am aiming to improve, as it is solely focusing on hitting technique. This drill can be overloaded by increasing the distance of the hit, therefore needing extra power on the hit and increasing intensity. So she's talked about the overload part. Okay. We also, last sentence, progression would be seen if this drill was to be repeated and overload over several training sessions. So she then talks about other principles of training. We have our SMART goal, and now she sets her SMART goal and explains why or how the SMART goal has been used within this drill. I'm going to move through a little bit quicker, okay? So our next one here, she has her second drill practice. Once again, pause the PowerPoint, read through it. She once again adds her progression at the bottom. We then have a smaller risk assessment, because you can say that they're going to warm up, the same as her first risk assessment, but a smaller risk assessment, but still a lot of detail in the coaching points for this session. We then have a section on principles of training again. How is principles of training affecting this lesson? And we then have her SMART goal paragraph, which talks about how a SMART goal is being used in this lesson. Drill 3, you can see here she's using other people. She's using a little key for cones and balls and people. Once again, does a progression section. explains in detail. She has a risk assessment again. She has her coaching points again. A principal training section. SMART goal again. Drill 4 is using other teammates. She's explaining the drill. Okay, you can see the picture she's using to help it easier to identify. Our risk assessment. We then have our coaching points, our principles of training, our SMART goal. Okay, now you can see here that work I think is very, very good, and it shows that it's a top level 4. Okay, and if you pause here, you can actually read why is it a top level 4 and how to improve. So we can actually think of, if we want to improve, how can we make that work a level 5 piece of work? Now you can pause this and read through that, and if you've got any problems, come to class and we can then work through that to say, well actually look, it says this, and we could actually start to work out this piece of work. How can we improve it? So the next part is analysing the components of fitness. Once again, I'm showing you the level of detail needed. So this person here has given me a title of cardiovascular endurance. They then start to explain what is it, why is it important to hockey. So if you pause and have a read through, I'm not going to sit here and read it through. You can pause it and you can read the level of detail. Now, as you go through, they've done one for muscle endurance and done exactly the same. You can see how much they wrote for this and the level of detail they needed in order to get those top marks. We then have one for speed. Once again, level of detail, how is it important for their sport? Strength, exactly the same. We then have power. It's going through each part. You can pause it, read it through. We have agility, flexibility, coordination, balance, reaction time. Now once again, top level 4 marks been given. How to improve, look at the rank ordering, the importance of each component of fitness to the sport or different positions within the sport. Say why they could not do without that fitness or why it is so important to that sport. So they're saying to improve, they need to say, why is reaction time so important for football? Why is it so important for our centre forward? Why is it so important for our badminton player? Okay, and they're saying that would improve it, and that might move into that level 5 band. But you can see how much the person has had to write and how much detail they've gone in, but we could improve that further. So the next part is the overview of the key skill. So here, this is looking at the skills. This person's done passing and has talked about the passing and gone into detail of in hockey what different types of passes you need. Okay, they've then done dribbling, they've then done tackling. So for me, I always like to think for this section here, if you had a perfect player in that position in your sport, what would they look like? How would they need to play? What skills would they need to have? So if you're looking at football, the perfect midfielder, what skills would they need to have? Okay. We've then got marking and shooting. Then we've got level 4. So this is level 4. And we've got how to improve. So once again, please pause the PowerPoint, have a read through it, and you can actually see their perfect examples. The next one is assessment of strengths and weaknesses. So this is looking at how good is that person. Okay, this is saying that we could be looking at a football and we could be saying, do you know what? They're fantastic at shooting, but they can't header the ball. So their strength is shooting, their weakness is headering. Okay, now we can do little tests for that. We could actually say, we're going to serve up, we can give them 10 free kicks from outside the box, and how many are going to score? But they get 9 out of 10. They score 9 out of 10 free kicks. That means that's a strength. We're going to cross the ball into the box. I'm going to do it 10 times. We're going to see if they can header the ball. They only get 2 out of 10. They only score twice. Well, that shows me that it's a weakness. That also shows me that we've done a baseline test, and we can do that test at the end to see if they've improved. Okay, but we can actually pause this. We can read it through to show what level of detail they've put in. We've also gone the same for dribbling and tackling, and that there is the bottom of level 5. So at level 5, what we want to achieve, and it shows how to improve this further. So once again, pause it, have a read through.